Time now for fantasy football must-starts and must-sits for Week 10. With quarterbacks, the must-starts: Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston, and Drew Brees. Our success rate for quarterbacks, 69%. That's about 8.3 out of 12 that we call correctly each week. And our sleeper of the week, Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill has quietly been playing at a very high level, having 7 touchdowns in the last 3 games. With the bipocalypse this week and Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson, and Carson Wentz on a bye, I would stream Tannehill against the Chiefs, who have allowed 6 passing touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. The must-sits: Mason Rudolph, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Ryan Finley, and Jared Goff. And our bust of the week, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Given that Fitzpatrick has thrown 5 touchdowns in the last 2 games, he's going to be a big add off the waivers. Just keep in mind that in the last 3 games, the Colts are allowing only 10 fantasy points a game to opposing quarterbacks. Running backs, the must-starts: Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, Marlon Mack, Le'Veon Bell. He did have an MRI on his knee. It's still kind of early. Keep an eye on him. If he's able to play, I would start him this week. And David Montgomery. Our success rate for running back, 63.5%. That's about 7.6 out of 12 each week. And our sleeper of the week, Devin Singletary. Frank Gore, thank you for everything that you've done, but this is Devin Singletary's team from now on. Singletary has slowly seen his touches increase since returning from a hamstring injury. He's also averaging 6.7 yards a carry, and the Browns have allowed over 8 yards a carry to starting running backs in the last 2 weeks. The must-sits: Damian Williams, Ty Johnson, Matt Breida, Kalen Ballage, and Joe Mixon. And our bust of the week, Devonta Freeman. Oh boy. We had Devonta Freeman taking a step back in our preseason rankings, but we didn't expect this much disappointment. This week he faces a Saints defense that's been tough on running backs all season. You could flex him if you're in a PPR league, since this game could be high scoring, but besides that, I look for another option. Wide receivers, the must-starts: Christian Kirk, Golden Tate, Devontae Adams, Chris Godwin, and Allen Robinson. Our success rate for wide receivers, 57.1%. That's about 6.9 out of 12 each week. And our sleeper of the week, Jamison Crowder. Without question, Crowder is Darnold's favorite target, averaging between 6 or 7 receptions a game with him under center. Next up is a great matchup against a poor Giants secondary. No reason to bench Crowder in PPR leagues. The must-sits: Jarvis Landry, Sammy Watkins, DK Metcalf, Dante Pettis, and Curtis Samuel. And our bust of the week, Cole Beasley. The good news: Beasley has scored a touchdown in 3 straight games. The bad news: he's still put up very mediocre stat lines in those games. The Browns are very mediocre against receivers, but this is more so because Beasley is touchdown dependent. His 8 receptions in those 3 games isn't enough to sustain fantasy relevance for so long. Alright everyone, so we're going to take a quick break to tell you about Overlay DFS. We tell you guys about this every single week. This is for all the fantasy football nerds out there. This game is perfect for you. You pretty much just guess which player is going to have more fantasy points for that week. This week's matchups include Drew Brees versus Jameis Winston, Alvin Kamara versus Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay versus Austin Hooper, and so many more. This past week, there was someone that paid $109, won a perfect 12-0 in his predictions, and won the jackpot of $28,000. The jackpot since then has reset, but is slowly going up. To sign up and start playing, download the app for iOS or click the link in the description. Go to www.overlaydfs.com. Alright, back to your starts and sits. Tight ends, the must-starts: Mark Andrews, Travis Kelce, Gerald Everett, George Kittle, and Greg Olsen. Our success rate for tight ends, 65.3%. That's about 7.8 out of 12 each week. And our sleeper of the week, Irv Smith Jr. Smith Jr. has seen 15 targets in the last 3 games. His role is steadily increasing, with Adam Thielen dealing with a hamstring injury. He's seeing the same amount of work as Kyle Rudolph, showing that Minnesota wants to feature their tight ends more. The Cowboys have been struggling against tight ends, so either Rudolph or Smith Jr. would be good plays. The must-sits: Jason Witten, Dawson Knox, Jimmy Graham, Ryan Griffin, and Tyler Eifert. And our bust of the week, Eric Ebron. Just flip a coin to see if you're starting Ebron this week. Eric Ebron has been very frustrating for fantasy owners. Last week he played on only 24 of the Colts' offensive snaps, and surprisingly the Dolphins defense has done well against tight ends for the most part. I would start Jack Doyle before I start Ebron. For the brand, the must-starts: Justin Tucker, Aldrick Rosas, Mason Crosby, Matt Gay, and Zane Gonzalez. Our success rate for kickers, 68%. That's about 8.2 out of 12 each week. In our sleeper of the week, Adam Vinatieri. Don't let your emotions get the best of you. You're probably frustrated with his performance last week, but against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, Vinatieri, given that the laces are out, should have a big day. The must-sits: Dan Bailey, Matt Prater, Jason Myers, Ryan Suckup, and Steven Hauschka. Our bust of the week: Austin Seibert. Seibert was an automatic 4-for-4 last week against Denver. The Broncos are one of the worst teams against kickers. Buffalo is the exact opposite, allowing only 6 field goals in 8 games this season. Defense and special teams, the must-starts: the Ravens, Saints, Colts, Bears, and the Bills. Our success rate for defense, 60%. That's about 7.2 out of 12 each week. And our sleeper of the week, the LA Rams. Since the Rams traded for Jalen Ramsey, their defense has been allowing only 10 points a game. With Ramsey expected to shadow Juju Smith-Schuster, and the Steelers possibly missing James Conner for this week, the Rams defense could have a big day. The must-sits: the Steelers, Dolphins, Seahawks, Jets, and the Panthers. And our bust of the week, the San Francisco 49ers. Last week, the 49ers defense didn't look great. Maybe it was because they had a short week, but maybe the 49ers defense has a weakness that the Seahawks are looking to expose. Against a potential MVP in Russell Wilson, it's hard to imagine the 49ers being anything more than average this week. If you have no other option, the 49ers should be fine. But if you can start any of the defenses on the start list, I would. As always, be sure to like this video and leave a comment down below asking your fantasy football questions. We all need help, we all need advice. It's almost time for the fantasy playoffs. I try my absolute best to respond to you guys, but if I can't get to you, other people will respond and help you out. And be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can stay up to date when we come out with a new fantasy football advice video every single Tuesday. Also, hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. The username for all three is @TimeToFootball. And don't forget to hit up www.overlaydfs.com to play daily fantasy football. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and best of luck in Week 10.